The purpose of these lessons is to show you the logic behind the most basic Chinese characters, beginning with the simplest pictograms, and later combining these elements to create more complex characters. Today's lesson begins with a review of 从, meaning to follow, because it illustrates the two separate components of a new radical in this lesson. I've colored the first component blue. It's one half of 行, meaning a street. I've colored the lower component red. It's 直, a foot. Together they mean to walk along a street or road. Pronounced fourth tone, 戳, 戳. The actual character 戳 never appears alone, but always in combination, becoming a very common radical to indicate movement. Here are three versions: the old script, the standalone printed form, and the fluent modern radical. Our first character, actually containing this radical, is the pictogram for speech, yin, with 戳. The original character was quite different, but it looked similar enough to yin, and was easier to write, that yin eventually replaced it in common usage. The original character meant to approach, go forward. During the Tang Dynasty, the character was borrowed as a substitute for 者, meaning a person or thing being approached, something in close proximity, someone nearby. This new character is pronounced fourth tone, 这, 这, possibly taking 这 as its phonetic, even though it doesn't appear at all. It's also sometimes pronounced 这, 这, the result of slurring 这 with number 1, 一, 这一, before a measure word. It means this or these. The pronouns this and these are so common in the language that I'll give just one example now. It will naturally show up in many future sentences. 这是你的吗? Is this yours? Our next character consists of the head and eye component in lesson 40, 手, plus today's radical denoting movement, 戳. It's pronounced fourth tone, 道, 道, meaning literally the leader, or the head guiding the way. Now it simply means a road or way, and the various concepts associated with it. Before I give Chinese examples, let's look at the English word way and its logical associations, which will help explain a very similar sentence development in Chinese. In English, we can take the way, the road, that cuts through the forest. I disagree with that line of thinking. In other words, I disagree with that way of thinking. He's an Englishman, through and through, meaning from his head all the way down to his toes. I cannot get through to them. I cannot find a way to penetrate their wall of resistance. I lost my train of thought. Thoughts seem to flow in a continuous line, a connected way. Is this the right way to do it? Way here is a sequence of actions, a method to follow. And finally, the metaphysical or religious sense. I am the way, the truth, and the light, saith the Lord. The first example is an actual path through the mountains. 山间小道. Next is a city street. 街道. 街道左右两面停了很多货车. Many trucks were parked on the right and left sides of the street. A sidewalk for pedestrians is 人行道。你在人行道上，我就认出了你。I recognized you when you were on the sidewalk. The phrase 一道 means together, literally one way, the same way. 我想跟你们一道走，好吗？ Is it all right if I go with you? 道 can also be a method, a way of achieving a goal. 他认为赌马才是生财之道。He believes betting on horse races is the way to make money. A tunnel or underground passage is 地下道, sometimes shortened to 地道. More interesting is its second very common colloquial meaning, genuine, the real thing. Reminiscent of my English example, he's an Englishman through and through. 我请你们吃地道的牛肉面. Let me treat you to some beef noodles. The real thing, literally through and through. This expression can be reversed, becoming 道地. 我爸说的一口道地的北京话. My dad speaks the genuine Beijing dialect. Not surprisingly, both 地道 and 道地 can be doubled for emphasis. 他卖的是道道地地的日本货. She sells authentic Japanese goods, no cheap knockoffs. 他是地地道道的正人君子. He's a true gentleman, in every sense of the word. And now we come to the more abstract, metaphysical meaning, the way to salvation. 道 literally means the way, the core of Taoism, spelled with a T in one of the earlier phonetic systems. The Taoist school of thought is 道家思想. Since all religions consider their way to salvation to be absolutely and factually true, it's not surprising that the usual Mandarin expression for the English verb to know is 知道, literally to know for a fact. Here are 3 examples. 我知道你的意思. I know what you mean. Remember that 意思 is always a noun in Chinese, while English mean is usually expressed as a verb. 她知道这件事吗? Does she know anything about this? Literally, does she know this matter? And our next sentence is used to scold a young child for hitting his or her playmate. 不可以打人，你知不知道? You can't go hitting people. Don't you know that? 人道 means humanity, the way humans should treat each other and other animals. 不人道 is the opposite, inhumane and cruel. 大家都目睹了这个不人道的问题. Everyone has witnessed this inhumane problem firsthand. Naturally, people of religious faith tend to want to share their way to salvation and spread the good word by proselytizing. So this is possibly the origin of Chinese 道, meaning to speak. 说道 is often found in novels, probably as often as he said or she said appears in English writing. 我不怕. 他的朋友说道. I'm not afraid, his friend said. 道别 means to bid farewell, say goodbye, especially when the separation could be very long and possibly forever. 我是来跟你道别的. 我要回英国. I've come to say goodbye. I'm going back to England. A 4-character idiom meaning a person with good conversational skills, the gift of the gab, is 能说会道。拍卖行请的员工都能说会道。Staff hired by auction houses all have the gift of the gab. The third character in today's lesson is contained in a later one, so we'll explain it first. From oracle bone drawings, this pictogram seems to represent segmented bamboo trees. Once cut, bamboo sections could serve as buckets for holding water, or fashioned into hollow, bell-like instruments for ancestor worship. It's pronounced fourth tone. Yung, yung. Since later drawings look more like buckets, this character was considered the forerunner of the wooden bucket, which was an essential item in everyday use. From this comes its basic meaning of to use. This character may be ancient, but it has very modern applications. For example, 用户名, one's username. 卫生用品 is personal hygiene products or toiletries. 不用 and 用不着 both mean there's no use in doing something, or no need to do it. 你们不用把这件事看得太重. You don't need to consider this matter so important. 我把用不着的东西丢了一半. I threw out half of the useless stuff. 用不着为了这件小事而吵架. There's no need to argue over such a trivial thing. 使用 means to make use of something. 你可以使用我的地下室. You may use my basement. 公用 means for public use. 公用电话亭没有人使用. Nobody uses public phone booths. 食用 means to eat, literally, to use as food. 生的猪肉可以食用吗? Can pork be eaten raw? To enjoy the use of or have the benefit of a privilege is 享用. 小的时候，我们不能天天享用肉食. When I was young, we weren't fortunate enough to eat meat every day. 用意 means a person's intentions. 我有时候也弄不清他的用意. Sometimes I can't figure out her real intentions. A four-character expression with 用意 meaning what's the purpose of this is 用意何在? 你说这个话用意何在? What do you mean by that? 用力 means to apply force, make an effort, exert oneself. 我哥哥很用力地把木门打开. My brother forced open the wooden door. 用心 is a phrase that translates as to pay attention, make a conscious effort. 她用心的话，一定找得到. If she tries hard enough, she'll certainly find it. If you're suspicious of a person's true intentions, you can use this idiom. 别有用心. 很多人说你别有用心. Many people are saying you have a secret agenda, a hidden purpose. Another four-character idiom is 意气用事, meaning to be swayed by personal feelings or to act impulsively. 这不是意气用事的时候，就论事. This isn't the time to be swayed by your personal feelings. Stick to the facts. The fourth character in this lesson is a combination of the tree radical plus 用. But this time, 用 has a handle added to make it look like a true bucket or pail. It's pronounced third tone, tong, tong, and means what it suggests, a bucket, wooden or otherwise. It's definitely not a bell-like musical instrument here. As a measure word, a bucket of water would be written as 一桶水. A wooden bucket still requires the separate character for wood, 木桶. 请你用这个木桶去打水. Please use this wooden bucket to draw some water. Notice that most versatile of verbs, 打, in the expression for drawing water from a well, 打水. As humans, we can be very squeamish when referring to certain bodily functions. For this reason, every language seems to have many genteel phrases to talk about these everyday functions and where they take place. At this point, we don't have enough vocabulary to give the most common Mandarin terms for defecation and urination. But today, we do have the expression for the toilet itself, the horse bucket, 马桶. This is not the term for a bathroom, lavatory, washroom, men's and ladies' rooms, the loo, comfort station, powder room, and all the rest. This is the porcelain bowl itself. So, don't go asking for it in polite company. 他坐在马桶上玩着行动电话. He sat on the toilet, playing with his phone. Our fifth character today pairs the movement radical 戳 with the bucket phonetic 通 to create a new character pronounced first tone, 通, 通. It means to move or flow unobstructed, like water pouring from a bucket, giving rise to all sorts of extended connotations, both concrete and abstract. As a simple verb, 通 means to open up or clear out obstructions. 工人正在把下水道通一通. Workers are clearing out the sewers. This is often done before an approaching typhoon to avoid flooding. 东门大道在7月份通车. East Gate Boulevard will open to traffic in July. 冰雪使街道不能通行. Ice and snow have made the streets unpassable. This unobstructive movement of 通 can also mean to connect, communicate with, or lead to. 这个地下道通往男宿舍. This underpass leads to the men's dormitory. 我好久没有跟他通信了. I haven't written or communicated with him in quite a while. Another way to say communicate or let someone know is 通知. 若有问题，请马上通知我. If there's a problem, please let me know immediately. 我已口头上通知他了. I've already notified him orally. 口头上 means orally, as opposed to in writing. The usual way of communication today is by telephone, so 通话 or 通个电话 mean to ring someone up, to call them. 妈正在东京跟我们通话. Mom is calling us from Tokyo. 我今天打了10来通电话. I've made over 10 phone calls today. Notice that 通 here is the measure word for telephone calls. 银行的电话一直打不通. I've called the bank repeatedly, but haven't been able to get through. As you can see in this last example, 不通 means there's some sort of obstruction or blockage. Here's another example. 你这个计划根本行不通. This plan of yours simply will not work. We've seen the phrase 人情 before, which means that human touch, a sensitivity to the feelings of others, which may or not be obstructed in some people. 我们不回请他，好像不通人情。Not inviting him in return makes us look unneighborly. In other words, if someone does you a favor or invites you for dinner, you should make an effort to reciprocate. 你这个人完全不通人情。You pay no attention to how others feel. You have no idea how to treat people. If a person is liberal and open-minded, 开通, there's obviously no barrier against modern ideas. 我爸爸不像你妈很开通. My dad isn't as liberal and open-minded as your mother. When communicating orally or in writing, 通顺 or fluency is important. 会说通顺的英语是必要的. Fluency in English is necessary. When two words or phrases are interchangeable, 通用, there's naturally no obstruction between them. 有时候这两个字可以通用. Sometimes these two characters are interchangeable. And I've provided two sets of characters that are often interchangeable, 分 and 化. This idea of moving back and forth freely among many things gives rise to the expression 通通, meaning all, entirely or completely. 架子上的小说我通通看完了. I've read all the novels on the bookshelf. If a person knows a topic or field of study completely, he or she can be referred to as an expert. 他在北京玩10天，就以为是中国通. After 10 days in Beijing, he considers himself an expert in all things Chinese. Our sixth and final character is a cart with the movement radical, pronounced second tone, 连, 连. It's the simple ideogram of a cart being pulled along the street. From this origin, it now refers to any two things linked together, just as a peddler pulls his cart behind him. This character is most useful in a sentence pattern followed by 都 or 也, and best translated in English as even. 我连她的影子也没有看到. I haven't seen her at all, literally, haven't even so much as seen her shadow. 我妈生气的时候，连我爸爸都怕. When my mom gets angry, even my dad is afraid. Another phrase is 连日, meaning many days in succession, for several days running, or day after day. 连日的阴天使我们心情不好. These endlessly cloudy days have put us in a bad mood. Here is our color chart with today's 6 characters. 用, 统, 通, 连, 这, and 到. Here's the takeaway from today's lesson. 1. 4 out of the 6 characters in this lesson contain the new movement radical, composed of 行, a street, and 指, a foot. The full character 绰 is never used, and need not be practiced, but its fluent and contracted form below various phonetics is very common. Characters indicating movement will usually have it. A ubiquitous character is the pronoun this or these, indicating persons or objects near at hand, and pronounced 这, or very often contracted with the number 1, J, in front of measure words. 3. I compare the English use of way, originally meaning a road or passage, to the very similar sense development of the character 道 in Chinese, a leader guiding the way. Beginning as a physical passage or way, 小道, 地下道, 街道, traveling the same way together, 一道, through and through, all the way through, 地道, 到地, on the way to a goal, 生财之道, or continuing on the way toward metaphysical truth, 道家思想, 知道, 人道, and from there to speaking one's truth, 说道, 道别, 能说会道. 4. Bamboo sections are the possible origin of the ancient character for a pail or bucket, 用, an indispensable container in everyday use. Its basic meaning, therefore, is to use, found in these expressions. 用户, a user. 用品, a product for use. 不用, there is no use, no point in doing something. 用得着, 用不着, useful. 使用, make use of something. 公用, public use. 食用, to use as food. 享用, to benefit from the use of something. 用意 and 用意何在, one's intentions. 用心, to make a conscious effort. 用力, apply force. 别有用心, to have a hidden purpose. 意气用事, to be influenced by personal feelings, not impartial. 5. An actual bucket or pail is 用, with an added handle, and the wood radical, pronounced 桶. It can also be a measure word, 一桶水, a bucket of water, or a toilet bowl, 马桶. 6. By combining the phonetic 用 with the movement radical, we arrive at the character 通, meaning to move freely without obstruction, just as water gushes forth from a tilted bucket. The phonetic clarifies the meaning of the radical. 通 provides many common expressions, among which are to clear out obstructions, open up, 通一通, to open a road to traffic, 通车, to travel through a road, 通行, to lead to, 通往, to communicate in writing, 通信, to notify, 通知, to call someone on the telephone, 通话, or 通个电话, to be unable to make a phone connection, 打不通, to be untenable, not practical, 行不通, to lack sensitivity towards the feelings of others, 不通人情, to be open-minded, 开通, to write or speak fluently, 通顺, to be interchangeable, 通用, all, entirely, completely, 通通, to be an expert in a certain area, 中国通. 7. By pairing a vehicle, 车, with the movement radical, we create the character lian, meaning to pull a cart or wagon along the road. Now it usually refers to linking things together. Most useful are the two sentence patterns, lian dou and lian ye, both of which are translated as even in English. 连我都知道. Even I know that. Now you will find a short quiz on double, triple character, and longer expressions. Answer using only the characters learned so far. Thank you for watching and listening.